Andy and I moved here to the mountains a few weeks ago. It was a bit of a plot twist. We were actually planning to move to Virginia to be closer to my family, but then coronavirus, and so much changed very quickly. But we landed here, signing a 12-month lease at 8,600 feet west of Gold Hill in unincorporated Boulder County. There's land in every direction, national forest to the left and to the right. Within our first couple of days, I eagerly hopped off a nearby marked trail and into the forest. I picked my head up after about 10 minutes walking through a pine thicket and realized I had no idea where I was or where the trail was. It was so disorienting. All of my familiar bearings, structures, roads, other humans, nowhere in sight. And I started to feel that small swell of the warmth and energy of fear in my chest, but also a little bit of excitement in my heartbeat and wide-eyed eagerness in my new mountain life. So I said to myself, okay, I need a compass. That's what one does in these moments, right? You pull out your compass and all of a sudden the direction forward is clear. I think in my fantasy, I would have had a legit compass, like a pocket watch or something, but I had my phone. Now, Andy would probably be smiling at this moment. She just has a different relationship to land spatially, knowing that I was very likely maybe 50 yards from the trail. It turns out also that the compass app is unhelpful if you hadn't downloaded it before being out of service range. But I did make it back that afternoon, but truly was a little unsettled by those feelings of disorientation. Startled by its surprising grip, and that longing for a compass was so real. I imagine many of you have had experiences of disorientation in recent weeks and months. Feelings of confusion, maybe anxiety or fear, or maybe even wide-eyed eagerness in charting a new course. For me, I've had what feel like peak moments of disorientation since mid-March. Peak moments of shock, of disbelief, peak moments of what I thought was true crumbling, disintegrating all around me and within me. And one of those moments happened this week, as I watched video footage of peaceful protesters being snatched by unidentified agents in unmarked cars in Portland. Peaceful protesters practicing their First Amendment rights in the United States, courageously calling for accountability and an end to state violence, calling for, fighting for, reminding us all of the inherent worthiness of all life. What a radical claim, the inherent worthiness of all life. That's part of the message of this faith, of course. It's one of the first things we say on Sunday morning. We are a community that believes that every person is worthy of love without exception. And maybe like some of you, as I was watching coverage of the rocking of our democracy this week, I was hearing the voices of Black and brown organizers reminding me that this too is not new. That Border Patrol agents have been snatching people off the streets for a long time in the United States of America. I took a deep breath, feeling another wave of paradigm-shifting truth crashing against the shore of my body, feeling a mix of gratitude and overwhelm. That's a little bit what this moment feels like to me. Paradigm shifting change, culture shifting, culture change. Old systems and paradigms that did not and do not recognize the inherent worthiness of all life are being called out, and their symbols taken off the mantle, dismantled, the final grip of these old systems responding in a backlash of desperation. And oh yeah, we're in the midst of a pandemic. Sometimes for me, it all feels chaotic and scary. A feeling of being lost, of being disoriented in new terrain all the time, not knowing my way forward. But other times I feel hopeful and energized, emboldened by the women of color in elected office speaking truth to power, inspired by the power of local community organizing, including Foothills neighborhood community circles, and charged by the giants of generations past, like John Lewis, Marsha P. Johnson, and white anti-racist activist of the 1950s, Anne Braden, charged by these beloved ancestors to keep going. Even when difficult but necessary, change is often uncomfortable. Like birth or the coming to life of something new, change is often messy, raw, miraculous, sometimes complicated, and it's also inevitable, part of the fabric of life. I haven't been able to get the words of Octavia Butler out of my head this week. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. This, dear ones, is some of the good news of Unitarian Universalism. Octavia Butler was not a Unitarian Universalist, but a science fiction writer, a Black woman, a feminist, a change maker, a shaper of change. She did the important work of imagining futures, imagining possibilities through massive change, and the central role marginalized people and groups in this country, poor people, Black people, brown people, queer people, women, the central role they will take in leading the way forward. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. In this church, we often talk about it as truth ever unfolding. That revelation is unsealed and continuous. Unitarian Universalism, after all, is a living tradition, a living faith. Truth isn't only in the past or sealed in one particular text or held frozen in time by one particular person. Our faith, this faith, says that the story is not over, is never over, that truth is constantly revealing itself now and now and now to you and to all life. Constantly revealing itself from within our own lives and real human experiences, from within the lives of others through science and through stories. What truth is revealing itself to you in your life right now? And what new truth is revealing itself to your neighbor, to your child, to your spouse, to us as a country, as a collective body? But how do we do it? How do we greet this gift of truth when it means so much change? When it might mean that parts of our lives have to change, maybe small things, maybe big things. How do we faithfully face it? With courage and with humility. You taught me that. This church taught me that. For my very first week as one of your ministers, and at least through the first year, we literally reminded ourselves of this at the beginning of church every single Sunday. It impacted me the first time I heard it and has stuck with me ever since. Courage and humility. The courage to bring your piece of truth to the table. The courage to use your agency and will, your power of choice where you have it, to co-create community and maybe even a country where the inherent worthiness of all life rings through every pocket and corner. The courage to shape change, or at least to try to, knowing that no right is guaranteed, knowing that even in the midst of all that you carry, we need you and your gifts because you're here. Because the improbability of your life has landed you here in this moment, in 2020, right now. And we can remind ourselves and each other that courage doesn't mean free of fear. It's allowing the swell of our hearts to guide us while the fear hangs out too, or maybe takes a backseat. But the courage is always paired with humility. The humility needed to be changed, to be shaped by the change, to keep our palms always a little open, humble in the face of all that we do not yet know. The humility to listen and be changed by the truths of others, knowing that you carry a piece, and it's only a piece. As paradigms flip and what you thought you knew shifts underneath your feet, whether very personally in your own life or as a people in a country, we are faithfully prepared for exactly this moment. Because in this church and in this faith, we believe that every single person is worthy of love without exception. And that we're all in this life together. It's the combination of these that make us a people that value both courage and humility. Knowing that we each hold a piece of the truth, and also that we need each other in order to make sense of anything in this life.